What is up, fellow summoners? Welcome to the channel. Today, just got finished running through my very first attempt at the Web Slingers challenge. As you can see there, I 100% the very first quest, but then I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna want to get through this thing, get to the last quest just to see how difficult the last path is. And I didn't know what to expect. I kind of like going into these things blind, just kind of assuming things, then to find out for myself, make adjustments, make changes. So I was in Seaton's stream at the beginning, but as he got onto the last portion of that, I actually turned everything off. The team that you see here, I really wasn't sure what to bring. I brought in Magic, brought in Winter Soldier. Was assuming that those were going to be my two kind of heavy hitters that I was going to be using for most of the event. But I also decided to bring in Angela for the tech advantage with the Stark Spidey. Decided to bring in Rhino just for some fun. The smaller that the enemy is, the more higher chance it is that you're going to be unblockable when you dash forward. So I thought that might be a little bit of fun to play with. And then for the last spot here, I really wasn't sure who to bring. I was considering maybe a champ that lowers defensive ability accuracy for the evade, but I thought, you know what, let's just bring in Psylocke. Maybe we can build up some charges, hit with a heavy. Won't have to worry about some of the specials if I can lock them down. So went ahead and just jumped right on up to the very last path. I like to attempt this first because if I can get through the last path, if I can game plan for that, I know I can get through it, and everything else below that I should be able to get through fairly easily as well. So for this very first node here, very first enemy, we've got Spider-Man. Remember, for all these nodes, we do have Degeneration and Lifesteal that is active. The S1 is unblockable, and if you get hit by the S1, you do have a heal block that is applied to you for 10 seconds. Now, when I was reading some of the notes leading up to the Web Slinger Challenge, I don't think I'm making this up, I believe I read somewhere that this event, as far as difficulty level, was supposed to be a little bit more difficult than the Bautista event. But what I quickly found out is that it's much easier to deal with any of these mechanics when you have a way to reliably regen, regardless of the champ that you bring in. So I don't want to say that it's easy necessarily, because I'm sure there's a lot of people that will struggle with the event. You know, newer people, or maybe people who don't have the same character, same character roster to bring in that I have. So I don't want to make it sound like I didn't enjoy it, because I do. I really enjoy these new events that they bring in, new content. But as far as difficulty, you know, between Bautista and the Spidey event, trying to compare the two, I think the Bautista event was actually quite a bit more difficult. This was the very first time that I ran into it, so I was still trying to get my timing down a little bit with the S1. Basically, what I've determined is that in the past, I always tried to evade the projectiles as they come to me. But what you actually want to do is just go ahead and start swiping back when you see him crouched down. That way, you'll evade the first one and have enough time to swipe back again and miss the second one. And once I got that timing down, I had a lot easier time getting through that. So just remember, when you see the screen go gray there, and he kind of squats back, getting ready to fire the webs, that's really when you want to evade back. It looks like the webs should hit you, but that's just part of the animations. The game actually reads it as evading through that. This Spider-Man is not stun immune, so there's really not a whole lot here that you need to play around. If you can get the timing down on the S1, always parry him. Try only hitting him while he is stunned. Typically, I've got, I'm trying to remember what the mastery is that gives you the additional half second, but I've got my parry maxed out. I think it's Stupefy. I don't know, whichever one gives you the extra half second. I've got both of those maxed out. So with that extra time, I'm able basically to get in a heavy, a medium, and a heavy is what you can get in while he is stunned, without having to worry about him evading. A lot of the times, though, I try to squeeze in one more hit, do a medium attack, light, medium. I think I said that wrong earlier, but a medium, light, medium attack. You just have to watch out for the last hit, because he will not be stunned and he can't evade it. But really, the fact that you can stun him makes this fight pretty simple. The fact that you've got that really strong regen and life transfer, really the chip damage that you take, even if you screw up the timing on the S1 and you get hit by it, you can still get yourself regen, get back into the fight. Pretty much the exact same thing that was with the classic Spider-Man is applied here to the symbiote Spider-Man. Brought in Magic. My goal was And my technique here is that the symbiote Spider-Man does not have the same evade chance as the classic Spider-Man does. Only after he uses his S1, which you'll see right here, he has an evasion buff that pops up, but that is only for a set amount of time. Whenever that wears off, or if he uses, I can't remember if his S2 applies it or not, but certainly the S1, whenever that falls off, he can't evade you. So my technique, my plan that you're seeing here, is very similar to what I used in Labyrinth of Legends, and that is to lock them down in the corner with intercepting, always having the S2 ready to go, keeping him power locked, so I never have to worry about him evading because he's never going to be getting to a special. And really the fight was pretty much wrapped up as soon as I got the first S2 on him. The technique for this, if you're new to the channel or you didn't see the Labyrinth of Legends run, is it's a medium attack, 3 lights, dash back, you hold for a split second, and most of the time the enemy is either going to come at you, which you can get the intercept, or they will attempt to attack, moving forward real quick, which then you come in for the hit. So you can intercept them and keep them reliably stuck in that corner and always have your S2 ready. Even if the S2 falls off, they get a little bit of power before you get there, it's totally fine. That actually will help you because the S2 from Magic actually steals their power when she burns it, so it helps you more quickly get back to your S2. So not difficult there. 89 and 0, I got through that one. Spider-Gwen was the next up. Stun effects last 100% longer. Life transfer, got the degen just like everybody else. Again, she is not stun immune. So really this fight, you could bring anybody in you want. I use my Winter Soldier here for class advantage, but you don't necessarily have to game plan for evasion in any way. The only time that she is going to be able to reliably evade is when she does use her S1, which I think she's going to use it here in a second. But once she does use the S1, just like Symbiote Spider-Man, when he uses his S1, she does have a evasion chance that pops up, chance to evade. You can just wait for that thing to fall off before you attack. You can see there the S2 does not trigger the same evasion. Winter Soldier, one of the reasons I like him is for his power drain. So a lot of the times I was actually power draining, which was keeping her from even getting to her S1. But if you do push her to the S1, try your best to stun her and push her into the S2. That way you don't have to worry about the evade. But I've got the fight on fast forward here. It's very, very similar to the first classic Spidey fight. Just stun her and attack as normal. Wait for the evasion to drop off. Really pretty simplistic. Spider-Man Miles Morales is the next up, and you can see the buffs that he has here. Again, not stun immune, so that's the big one that you should keep an eye out for. I was keeping an eye out for. My goal here, which I really screwed this up. So I bring in Magic. Yes, she has class disadvantage, but I'm thinking, okay, every time I use, every time he uses a special, he gets 2 charges of his evade. Which, I know what you're thinking, no, it doesn't work that way, it's actually reverse. Every time that you as a character use one of your specials, he gets 2 charges of evade. But in my mind, I had it backwards. So I was thinking that I was going to lock him down with the S2, which wouldn't allow him to use a special, so he wouldn't be getting any of his evade buffs. But as you can see there, he used his S2, he didn't get any of those, so I was completely wrong. I don't know what I was thinking. I guess I don't fight him enough to remember that. I knew he got evasion buffs from specials, but I was thinking it was his specials that gave him the buffs. So I think here, pretty quick, I figure out what is going on. I don't even think at this point that I figured it out. I used an S2 there. He evaded it, so I was like, screw this. The way that you can play around this and what you'll see me do for the remainder of the fight, I think I might use one more S2. Maybe I hadn't figured it out yet, but my technique is, once I do figure it out, which is the technique that I would suggest that you use for everybody else, fight this as if you do not even have a special. What will happen is eventually he is going to evade you and those buffs are going to drop off. And if you do not use any of your specials throughout the fight, he is not going to gain any more evasion buffs. So from that point forward, the fight is much more simplistic. Slow it down, parry him, only attack into him while he is stunned, and that'll make the fight. Yeah, it's right there. I realized finally what was going on, that my S2 is the one that is giving him the evasion buff. So I've got lifesteal, life transfer, whatever you want to call it, to get my health reliably back up. And you'll see my my power bar is going to fill all the way back up, and I'm not going to use it again. So got this fight on fast forward. It's nothing too intriguing here. You can see it. I've got myself on full bar of power. You saw there I used this S1, which is actually, for some reason I was thinking it was a little more tricky to evade than it is. I think the timing on it is actually a little bit slower than the S1 that you see from classic Spider-Man or Symbiote. Maybe I'm making that up, but I was able to evade that pretty easily. Best case scenario is that you're able to push him into the S2, but as you can see there, the way that I was trying to stun him, most of the time I was just baiting out his S1. But remember, like I said, you do have life transfer, so that chip damage that you are taking there, it's not even unblockable. That little chip damage you're going to get right back when you parry stun him and then attack into him. So 161 hits, it's definitely one of the longest fights. So here we now are to Spider-Man Tech, and this whole time I had been looking to see if anybody was immune to debuff effects, immune to stun. And on this Spider-Man, he is stun immune, and I completely overlooked it. Now, anytime his AI, his tech AI, the Stark Tech, is active, basically he has a strike back. So every time you use a special, he gains 1 bar of power. The only way to remove that is if you don't have class advantage. If you hit him with a heavy, it will remove that Stark Tech, which is essentially going to remove the strike back node, and you can use specials as normal. So my thinking is here, clearly I'm going to be able to get through this thing without any issues. So I thought, you know what? Probably would be better off bringing in one of my 5-star characters, but I'm going to bring in Angela. I like her as a character. I don't have a lot of opportunities to use her. So every time I hit him, as you can see, it does reboot his Stark AI. The timer starts on that, so I don't have to worry about the strike back node. And my plan was, right before I get to my S2, the normal rotation is I use my S1 to gain the extra Fury buff. That's kind of the rotation, but I really screwed up the time. Yeah, I don't know what I did there, but the timing of all of that, I probably should have just skipped, which you'll see me do here in the next fight. I do go ahead and revive. You know, really I didn't need to, but I wanted to use Angela. Go ahead and revive, come back in. I think at this point I've just totally skipped trying to use my S1. There's just something about the timing. I've not really fought Spider-Man. I haven't even used or haven't even cleared Master, let alone Heroic, so I've not actually fought a difficult Spider-Man, so I was really trying to get used to all of his movements first. But yeah, he's all over the place. I did notice he is stun immune, which I figured out in this fight. He is stun immune. I realized that he uses his heavy a lot. Basically, if you block like 1 or 2 of his hits, it usually doesn't take more than that, and he's very like trigger happy to use his heavy attack. Which is one of the biggest windows there you'll have to be able to attack him. And then also this S1 here, you've got to almost run at him as soon as he gets done kind of kicking forward with the web. He jumps back pretty far, and if you wait until he lands to dash forward and try to hit him, the timing of that is going to be all screwed up, and he's going to be ready to sit there and hit you. So as far as timing goes, as soon as he comes forward with you at the web, almost even before he starts jumping back, but certainly as soon as you see his animation, he starts flipping back. That is when you want to dash forward and kind of catch him as he lands. And then that was the first time I had seen the S2, and my timing was just off on it. I waited too long. So now I brought in Rhino just for some fun. As I mentioned before, the smaller the enemy that you're fighting is, the more of a chance you have to go totally unblockable when you dash forward. So I'm basically just kind of screwing around at this point. I'm just kind of spamming the heavy over and over again. My thought is if I do, you can see it right here, if I do manage to catch him in an animation, it's not a big deal. I'm unblockable for a split second, or excuse me, stun immune for a split second there. And, excuse me, I'm unstunnable, so I can move out of that. And I have a higher chance of being unblockable when the enemy is small, just like that. So I don't know. It was a little bit of fun. I screwed the wording up on all of that, but I think you knew what I meant. He actually might be pretty good for clearing this whole thing. If you just dash back and are just constantly dashing forward, because you're going to be unblockable quite a few times. You're going to get all of that life. power or life steal back to yourself, keeping yourself alive. So I'm gonna definitely run through this thing again. Might do it on live stream this evening, and I might just play around and bring in my Rhino, have a little bit of fun there. Stun immune Vulture, that's the biggest part of this. He's more likely to activate his special 3, which I don't really understand that. I guess that's just saying he's likely to hold on to his power, which I really didn't experience that at all. But the technique that I'm going to employ here is exactly what you saw with Symbiote Spider-Man because of his power gain. And the fact that he is stun immune makes this technique work even better. Going to bait out an S2. Do remember to wait for those that very last part of that animation after he spins around. You can outrange the S1 pretty easily, but here it is. Now I'm going to get into my S. Well, okay, so I bait out another S2. This thing spins around. I don't know how he caught me there, but he did. Spins around, then I lock him down with the S2, and it's pretty much game over from that. I know he's got a lot of health, but I get back into my rhythm, which Labyrinth of Legends is still fresh on my mind, so this technique and this rhythm I'm still very comfortable with. Again, this is spamming the S2, even though he's got power gain, doesn't make any difference. He's stun immune, doesn't make any difference because I'm intercepting. As soon as he comes up, you usually can catch him with a kick there. If you can catch him, just dash back, hold for a split second. I mean, we're talking like less than a quarter second. There's just a little tiny hitch there, and then he jumped forward. So when he is blocking, or excuse me, when you're hitting him, it's a medium, light, dash back. You'll catch him. If you don't catch him like that, hit into his block to reset, and then do the same thing. Really, from this point moving forward, the fight is over. He will be power locked. Nothing really to concern yourself about. I've got the limbo ticking away a little bit. I've got the life transfer keeping myself fully maxed out. So not a difficult fight at all. Just like I did the Bautista event, this is just simply my first run through, just showing you my experience as I ran up against it for the first time. I will then go back and do an actual video where I sit down and try to kind of map out and plan some of the best characters that you can use for these fights, because I realize not everybody has got rank 4 5-star characters. Not everybody's got a magic like this to be able to use this technique. So we'll actually do a more in-depth guide and look at kind of a broader range of characters that will be able to go into this Web Slinger challenge and complete it. So keep an eye out for that in the next couple of days. My thoughts on this event are kind of mixed. As I mentioned at the beginning, I was expecting something a little more difficult. I know this is probably the sweet spot for a lot of people, but for me personally, I guess I was just expecting something at least on par with Bautista, or maybe slightly more difficult with all the vague characters. I think the Degeneration and the Lifesteal, I think they're unnecessary. This event, I believe it would be more difficult, but I think it would be more fun because it'd be more of a challenge if you didn't necessarily have the lifesteal there. But again, we'll go back, we'll run through with different characters, and I'm sure it'll be more challenging. So, hope this helped. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Keep your eyes out for the actual full Web Slinger guide video that'll be coming out in a couple days. Until I see you all then, have a great day.